That is a live look at the UFC Octagon. We are here in the United Center, Chicago, Illinois for UFC 319. Welcome into the preview show. And to get us underway, a few words from the one and only CM Punk.
What's up, fight fans? This is the best in the world, CM Punk, and everybody knows my hometown is Chicago, Illinois, and if there's one thing we like better than fist fights, it's champions. The 1985 Chicago Bears, the Bulls dynasty led by Michael Jordan, the world-famous 2016 Chicago Cubs, and who could forget the original six dynasty the Blackhawks had in the 2010s. UFC 319 is coming to town. The two best middleweights in the world will clash. The champion, Dricus Du Plessis, the South African smasher, takes on the runaway freight train, the unstoppable Khamzat Chimaev. Who will be the champ at the end of the night? Who will be the best middleweight in the world? Find out in Chicago at UFC 319.
Oh, it is not long now until we will be seeing Khamzat Chimaev and Dricus Du Plessis headline a very stacked UFC 319 in Chicago, Illinois. Hello, everybody. Brett Okamoto alongside Michael Chiesa, Dustin Poirier. We are here to take you up through the prelims on ESPN Plus, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, and we have got a whole lot to discuss, whole lot to talk about, guys. 319 is one of the best cards of the year, in my opinion.
I mean, there's so much star power on the card, and right now the energy is almost tangible in the city, man. It's got big fight feels, and I'm just excited for the fights to kick off.
For sure. Everywhere I go, I've been walking the city. People running up to me asking about who I think is going to win the main event. The energy's great. Chicago is definitely a hosting city for fights.
In some ways, I can remember looking back at Khamzat Chimaev's UFC debut. It feels like just yesterday when he fought twice in 10 days. But then we all thought he was going to get this title fight, and that took 5 years. So in some ways, it feels like a very long time since this guy came into the Octagon. He finally gets his shot at gold tonight, and that is what, of course, our main event is all centered around. Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Du Plessis.
His nose is broken. Oh, it's just leaking.
That's as bad a broken nose as I've seen in a long time.
Dricus Du Plessis is so good, man. He has proven it time and time again. It's time to put some respect on this man's name.
My story is one of legacy. I want to become the greatest of all time, and that will always be the goal. I don't want the legacy of somebody that defended his belt. I want the legacy of somebody who beat the best of the best.
A lot of fans and pundits felt as though this would be the night upon which we find out just how good Khamzat Chimaev is.
I'm glad I'm fighting a guy that people think is unbeatable, because I will beat him.
Oh, he tapped! Oh, he tapped! Still undefeated! That was fast! Oh, I think he messed up his jaw.
Oh, dude, he just crushed it. Look at that. And that's one of the more violent submissions we've seen in the UFC against a future Hall of Famer.
To do that against a guy like Whitaker, that is a big wake-up call for the middleweight division.
Well, I've seen a lot of fighters like Dricus. It's nothing special. Nobody knows this guy. I try to explain to people like I'm fighting Dricus, but they say, who is Dricus? I need to make him famous to sell the pay-per-views, you know? Because who is the superstar? Who is the people wants to watch? Not Dricus.
A force unlike anything the fight game has ever seen.
It's over. One shot.
One and done.
This guy is one of those special fighters I've ever seen.
Nobody can stop me.
If not the most special guy that I've ever come across.
That is it. The hype is real.
The speed, the takedown, everything. That's why he's such a terrifying talent.
There's the tap. Khamzat Chimaev. How good is he?
He's 16-0 and deserving of all the hype. But, you know, this is a different level. I'm constantly evolving, trying to get better. It's not about the person that I'm fighting. It's about what that person represents. And that is the next step in the ladder to becoming the greatest. When I go out there, losing is not an option.
Du Plessis is an absolute tank of a man. He's a huge, powerful middleweight.
Oh my goodness.
Big strikes raining down by the South African.
The pressure, the pace, the cardio, the belief in self.
I'm not scared of Khamzat taking me down. He's probably gonna take me down. You got me down, now I'm getting back up. Now you're getting tired. Then you take me down again, and I get back up again. And you realize, yeah, you took me down, but that doesn't mean anything. What happens when I take you down?
He's got the choke.
There's the tap, and still.
All the guys he fought, no one of them was undefeated. I don't know how to lose, but he knows.
Khamzat Chimaev.
He is not inhuman. He can be hurt, he gets tired. If it goes the distance, I'll win. If I finish him, I'll win.
Just like that, Dricus Du Plessis.
Dricus can't stop my takedowns and submissions, so I take him down and smash him, you know.
I will prove to this guy and to the world I am the greatest.
This fight is just absolutely fascinating. And here's what we just saw on Friday. This was the final stare down between these two. And no surprise, really, Khamzat full of energy. This is what's really kind of ignited his career. It's defined him his entire career. The fans love to see that energy. Dricus, for his part, of course, not backing down as the champion, staring him down. Dana wants to keep those guys separate because we had a fight to get to on Saturday, UFC 319. But a lot of energy from Chimaev. I got to believe that he'll bring that energy into the first round of this title fight. And that's really the first place I want to go for you, Michael, is take us into the head of Dricus Du Plessis. When you've seen somebody not just dominate, but dominate in such a specific way of like, this guy's got a bazooka that no one's been able to stop yet. What's going through his mind going into that first round?
Well, he just has this burning desire to compete, and he's unbreakable. Dricus gets, the longer the fight goes, that's when we really see the best in him. And I love the fact that he understands the assignment, that he's going to have to get up from these takedowns at some point, but he's not going to be rattled by it. He understands he could get taken down, so obviously he's going to work to get through those positions. And I think the more that he can get up, the more it's going to start to get into the head of Khamzat Chimaev and get him to think twice about exerting the wrestling, the energy in the wrestling department.
For sure, and the more he can get up, it's going to wear on Khamzat's gas tank. It takes a lot of energy to hold another man the size of DDP down. You know, he did it with the Usman and slowed down, but DDP's a whole different thing. He's a legit middleweight, a big guy for the weight class, and a great athlete. And if he keeps getting up, Dricus knows he can depend on his gas tank.
Let's talk about the mindset a little bit, because we just watched that final stare down. And Dustin, you were in some famous stare downs, of course. One of them was with Conor McGregor, and he was kind of like Khamzat Chimaev, showing a lot of energy before the fight. When you watch those guys, the calm champion, Khamzat kind of losing his mind, trying to shove him. What are you making of the body language?
Listen, man, over the years of fighting, the stare downs, the pre-fight antics has shown me that none of that really matters. You know, I've seen guys act like the big bad wolf and show up pussycat the night of the fight. I've seen guys timid and not making eye contact in the stare downs and show up ready to be a world champion the fight night. So I don't put a whole lot into that. The thing is with that, though, if he brings that same energy, that same excitement to fight night and comes out like a cannonball, he's going to slow down in the later rounds. And I think that's what Dricus knows about this fight. Like, bring it on. Get crazy. Use all that energy, because when that clock hits 20 minutes in, I'll be there coming off the stool. What
have you made of Dricus' body language? I mean, the guy's come in, he's always been confident, almost to the point a little bit of arrogant, I would say, at times. And then you got this guy who's getting in his face. What have you made of Dricus?
Well, Dricus just has an aura of just confidence. And I don't think I don't find it to be too arrogant. It's just the guy trusts in his preparation, and you have to have that self-belief if you're going to fight at this level. Like I said, he has a desire to fight the best. And if you want to really fight the best guys, you have to be very confident in your skills. And I'm honestly surprised it took this long for the antics to kind of pop off, you know, because with Chimaev, you know you're going to get, you know, depending on who he's going up against, you know, you're going to get that from him during fight week. We saw that with the Nate Diaz fight. Literally shuffled the whole fight card with all the stuff that went on through fight week. So I'm surprised it just took that long to get to the weigh-ins for that stuff to kick off.
Well, we are up here, obviously, inside the United Center, where the fans are just not starting to trickle in yet. Maybe some VIP guys, are a few people down there in the arena. But of course, right now, the busiest part is downstairs, behind the scenes. And our own Anthony Smith is down there with John Anik to give us a little bit of insight what's going on behind the scenes at UFC 319 right now.
Thanks, Brett. All right, we're here in advance of UFC 319 with the man John Anik. I know that everything you do is built off of storytelling and the raw emotions of these cards. I think the main event is getting a lot of love. I think the co-main is getting a lot of love. But is there a storyline or something that you're really excited about that maybe the rest of the public isn't necessarily tracking?
Well, singularly, all of these fights are monumental in the careers of all of these athletes, right? And when I think about the rebooking between Carlos Prates and Jeff Neal, right? And Jeff Neal has had a lot of different circumstances during his career that have maybe prevented him from being as active as he would have liked to have been, right? They pull Carlos Prates for the Ian Machado-Gary fight when Jeff Neal's healthy and ready to go. Now the opportunity comes around again. Don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Huge opportunity for Jeff Neal. A lot of people think his ceiling is actually championship. He's a big betting underdog tonight. So that fight maybe hasn't gotten the attention that it deserves, but I think you could say that about a lot of fights. You know, Edson Barboza is fighting in the middle of the afternoon. He's a legend as far as I'm concerned, making his 31st UFC appearance. So it sounds hyperbolic when guys like me say deepest card of the year or biggest fight of the year. I certainly think this is among the deepest cards, and it's the biggest fight of the year, and you won't hear me say that again.
If you talk to any fighters at 170 pounds, 185 pounds, and even some of the guys at 205 pounds, Khamzat is the guy that nobody wants to fight. He's kind of the boogeyman in the entire UFC. I don't get the vibe that that's how Dricus Du Plessis feels. You talk to him, you had the fighter meetings. Without divulging too much, what is the vibe and the feeling that you're getting from Du Plessis?
You put that question well. He has said it's the toughest opponent and the toughest challenge of his career, and you got to take Dricus Du Plessis at his word. I think stylistically, there's certainly a package that Khamzat Chimaev offers, not just in terms of the wrestling, but the grappling, the striking, the whole MMA package that is Khamzat Chimaev that I think is intimidating for a lot of guys. My pay-per-view open tonight is about the challenger, and I think that is somewhat telling, right? The fans have been waiting 5 years for this moment. All these questions give way to answers tonight, and I think maybe most excited to get those answers is actually Dricus Du Plessis, who wants to build his legacy with stylistically hard fights, and this certainly qualifies.
All right, John, I know you probably got some prep work to finish up. Thanks for chatting with me, man.
You're the man. Great wardrobe decision again by Anthony Smith.
It is funny seeing Anthony Smith. He looks great, and then just that giant grenade tattoo on his hand that he's got the ESPN mic flag with. You guys, you know, just sitting up here, just having general conversations. Dustin said something that it was, you know, tell us what's going on downstairs behind the scenes. Just a lot of nervousness. What is that feeling like downstairs where we just saw John?
It's thick. It's nervousness. You can feel it from every fight team sitting at their corner in the locker room. They all have their names, you know, so every fight team's kind of separated, and everybody's pacing back and forth, waiting for their name to be called. And then throughout the night, guys are trickling back in, bloodied up, beat up. Some are celebrating, some are crying. It's a lot of emotions in that locker room.
Michael, you like being back there when all that is happening, or are you going to have nightmares about the locker room before a fight?
Man, it's I always say this. I say that when you go through camp and, you know, you get the phone call from your manager or Sean Shelby, that's when the nerves start. And the longer the camp goes on, the closer you get to the fight, they slowly just start to come to this peak. And that peak is fight night. When you walk in that locker room, everything's coming to a head. The preparation of the nerves, the navigating of what goes on between the ears, is definitely something you can never put your thumb down. It's always different, but definitely nerves. But without nerves, you know, you wouldn't perform well. You need to have that edge. To me, I think fear and nerves, if you can control them, they can benefit you. So it all boils down to that.
For sure. These guys and women are trying to come out here and do something amazing, do something historic, do something incredible. If they don't have nerves back there, it's part of it. It's part of the journey. It's part of the process. You're supposed to feel that when you're trying to do something incredible.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? It's kind of cool that it's happening in Chicago. I talked to you know, Khamzat and his team, and obviously, you know, they were thinking finally we're going to get a title fight. It's going to take place in Abu Dhabi. It's going to take place in Las Vegas. Like, oh, Chicago. We never really thought of Chicago, but it's actually been very fun to watch these two in this city with such a rich history of championships. I mean, we're looking at the Chicago Bulls banners here right behind us. Dricus has been here now for over a week, and he has made himself at home in this city of champions.
Anybody that is a master in their craft, anybody that is at the top of their game. You know, in a sport where it's so competitive, the top of the top, you know, I can take inspiration from that.
Please welcome Dricus Du Plessis.
That was great. It's a lot more nerve-wracking to do this than people would think.
I never thought I would like all these massive buildings just as far as the eye can see. The people were incredibly nice from the first day we got here, very welcoming. I love it, you know, the sports scene here, to see how passionate people are about sports and all the different sports that are. You know, it's almost the culture in Chicago, and I love it.
Pleasure. Caleb.
Nice to meet you, Kaio.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, sir. How are you?
He don't look like the middleweight champ to me.
Good, man.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
Awesome, man. Pleasure is mine.
You ready to
Thank you for
roll?
having us. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, it's going to be jamming in there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Jordan to win! Michael Jordan being Michael
Going out there to the United Center and seeing the amazing stadium, it's one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever seen. Seeing the statue of Michael Jordan, who is a sporting hero of mine and probably everybody in the world, saying the best there ever was and the best there ever will be, that's what I'm chasing. That's how I want people describing me when it comes to my sport. All the massive sporting history in that building, it's just fuel to the fire. I am part of that. I'm going to be part of that rich history of sports and legends.
What a performance by Dricus Du Plessis.
There is no doubting the South African now.
What is important here is beating Khamzat Chimaev, the first guy to beat him, defending my title for a third time, going on with that legacy of being the greatest middleweight and ultimately best fighter to ever walk this earth.
Dricus Du Plessis and still South Africa, Dricus Du Plessis remains the man at 185.
One word to sum up my time in Chicago. Yeah, that's pretty easy, yeah. The one phrase would definitely be, now they know. That's it, now they know.
I really love the ending of that, because if he comes out and he beats Khamzat Chimaev, like, yeah, there is no doubting this man anymore after a career, really, in which he's been doubted. And not only has he been doubted, but, you know, now all of a sudden you turn around and you really look at it. The guy's got a 9-fight win streak, and that's only trailing behind Israel Adesanya and the great Anderson Silva. Where is he in terms of the GOAT conversation at middleweight, Michael?
I mean, he's definitely on his way. I mean, I just kind of went through the rankings and beat Strickland twice. He's about to fight Khamzat, beat Izzy, beat Rob. I mean, Rob and Izzy are two of the greatest middleweights of all time. And for Dricus, it's the win streak and the improvements we've seen, because I feel like he's gone through some growing pains as a fighter. We've seen him, you know, for lack of better words, you know, been labeled as a guy with a sloppy style. But that Sean Strickland fight, that last fight he had, I really feel like he has polished all that out, and he's really gone through the growing pains of evolving as a fighter without having to come up with on a loss in the UFC. So I like where he's at. The skills are all coming to a point, but they have to be when you're fighting a guy like Khamzat.
Yeah, that 9-fight win streak, he's beat, in that win streak, he's beat 3 former world champions and beat one of them twice. The guy is definitely a legit world champion. But calling him the GOAT, I think we're going a little bit ahead of ourselves there. You know, and speaking to his people underestimating him, he's a dog again here tonight. You know, the dog against the challenger, undefeated challenger, I understand. But the guy goes out there, and I think it's more of his unorthodox style of fighting. People kind of doubt him in certain matchups because he's stumbling over his feet, and his technique isn't textbook. But this is martial arts, and the guy paints a beautiful picture out there. It doesn't have to be technique if it's working, if you can make it work. So his awkwardness is a superpower that he's using to his advantage.
I think you're right. It's way too premature to be talking about this, but when it happens quick. And I think the one thing that he's been lacking is sort of that aura factor. You know, Izzy had it, and Anderson Silva obviously had it. He doesn't have the aura
and
yet.
Khamzat has it.
Khamzat has it coming in more so than he does. But if he takes that away from Khamzat, I think the conversation does feel premature now, but it's going to feel appropriate, you know, which is 1 more fight, 2 more fights. If this guy keeps doing what he's doing, we're going to be talking about him as the absolute greatest middleweight of all time. One of the things that I love about this show is we get to give sometimes a sneak peek on the coat that Bruce Buffer will be wearing inside the octagon. So Anthony Smith is backstage with him. Or did we? Well, we missed. Yep, we missed the interview with Bruce Buffer. He's a busy guy, but we do get to see the suit. Walks in, ready to go. Talking about goats. There's a goat right there, huh? Octagon announcer. We are going to notice when the great Bruce Buffer finally hangs up his mic, but I think there's still plenty of announcements, plenty of calls still in that man as the years continue to tick on for the UFC. There's your live look at UFC 319 Octagon inside the United Center. We are 41 minutes away. It's going to be a big, big night in the middleweight division, but also in the featherweight division, where we're going to see Aaron Pico finally make his UFC debut against an unbeaten opponent in Lerone Murphy.
I've been in combat sports my whole life. I started wrestling when I was 4. I started boxing when I was 10. And the harder I pushed, the more I enjoyed life. I can't really explain it. It's just something that's inside me.
Yeah, look at my shine with the blow. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. One of the hottest free agents in mixed martial arts is bringing his act to the big show in the UFC. Decorated wrestler, now in the UFC where he belongs, Aaron Pico.
When I was in 3rd grade, I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be a UFC champion, and I've never lost sight of that goal.
You know, I'm not here for a participation medal. I'm here to show that I'm the best fighter in the world. Just wait till I fight. You guys are in for a treat.
Aaron Pico, the fighter, is vicious. I'm dangerous everywhere, but I love to knock people out. Every fight that I've been in, it's been exciting. But for me, I didn't set out on this journey to just have great fights. I set out to have a gold belt wrapped around my waist, and now I need to go get it.
Breaking news, it will be Aaron Pico versus Lerone Murphy, co-main events at UFC 319.
Accepting fights on short notice for me is nothing new. It's a big test, big risk, but big reward.
Lerone Murphy, the rising contender, wants to be England's next championship threat at 145 pounds.
Big land from Murphy now.
The striking, the power, the technique that he has. The sky is the ceiling for this man's ability.
Oh, my God. Big right hand splits the guard. Heavy shots. That's it. Lerone Murphy. Wow.
This fight is a life-changing fight. If I can go out there and beat Aaron Pico, I'm next in line for the title for sure.
Still undefeated.
16-0. 16-0. What easy work.
He's a very tough fighter, and he's undefeated for a reason, but he hasn't fought Aaron Pico yet. I'm a different animal than anything that he's ever seen. As long as I stay sharp, it's going to be a rough night for him.
He's got great accomplishments in boxing and wrestling, so it's going to be a tough fight, but I just see my hand getting raised at the end of it.
Oh, and a knee now from Lerone.
Everybody's got weaknesses. He's going to walk into a lot of shots and he's going to go down.
There's nobody on this planet that is unbreakable. I will do whatever I have to do to win, and I'm ready to go straight to the top.
Listen, I think it's important to real quick run through an Aaron Pico history for some of these viewers, because if you haven't been watching this sport, and it goes back quite a while now, in 2017, Aaron Pico came in and made his debut, but he was actually signed to a promotion, Bellator MMA, way before that. They signed him to a developmental contract because he had shown so much promise as a high school kid in the sport of wrestling and boxing. And then he had his MMA debut, lost at Madison Square Garden, got choked out in the first round of a fight that actually Chael Sonnen headlined, a card that Chael Sonnen headlined. So then he remade himself in Bellator, and now finally coming over to the UFC. There's a lot to unpack here. It's something pretty special that we're seeing in Aaron Pico coming to the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following Aaron Pico since he was 15 years old. I mean, this kid burst onto the international scene for wrestling and made it very known that he had a path set up before him to get into mixed martial arts. So he skipped college. He wanted to make an Olympic team, win an Olympic gold medal. He was an alternate on the U.S. World Team, made the transition to mixed martial arts. And like you said, he had a rough debut in a fight that he was honestly set up to win. He's definitely had to go through some growing pains as evolving as a fighter, but he's a very highly touted prospect. He's won 9 of his last 10. It would be a 10-fight win streak if he didn't separate his shoulder against Jeremy Kennedy. But what you get with Aaron Pico is you get power punching with powerful wrestling, and he's got a championship-level mentality. This kid's preparation dots his I's, crosses his T's. He's got a reputation of being a tireless worker, and you can tell that he's got a lot of hype behind him. When they tried to put him with Evloev, the #1 ranked guy at 145 pounds in his debut, but instead he gets Lerone Murphy. So he really is in a position right now where if he can go out there and do what we haven't seen a lot of guys do coming over to the UFC, if he can go out there and have a big performance, he can find himself in a fight with Volkanovski.
Dustin, it's always the question when somebody comes into the UFC, when he's had a lot of success outside of the UFC, is can he do it here? Where are you at in terms of speculating on where Aaron Pico will fit in once he's coming over in the octagon?
I really think he's a legit threat to the division. You know, the guy's very talented, been competing his whole life. And the vibe I get from him, you can just feel how focused he is and how much he wants it. But with that comes the pressure he's putting on himself. You know, I saw an interview yesterday of him saying he's practiced talking to Joe Rogan over 1,000 times, driving in his car. On the back end of that, he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. He just needs to come in here and perform. He has the tools to do it. Brandon Gibson's a great boxing coach. He was boxing before. Use that crisp boxing, set up those shots, but don't put himself in harm's way as much as he does regularly. You know, he'll lunge in he tries to finish guys, and doing that, you have to put yourself in harm's way. And that could be dangerous in here against guys like Murphy, who's fought big punchers before and can handle that kind of pressure and find those openings. He just needs to be a complete fighter coming here, and I think he's going to have great success.
Michael, I think it's a really great point that Dustin brings up, because Aaron is intense. He's a very serious guy.
That works both ways, man. Yeah. It works both ways. You're putting it out there, you want it so much, but when you're not talking on the mic or in front of a camera, you're still going through it in your head. You're battling yourself. I've had problems with that in my career. You got to find a good balance, because you need that, but you need to balance it properly to compete and perform at the highest level.
Well, and we've seen guys struggle coming over. Patricio Pitbull, specifically coming over to fight Yair Rodriguez. Yep. I'm not saying this to be funny, and I mentioned this to you guys before the show, that everything is bigger here. Even the posters we sign on Fight Week are bigger. Like, everything is so much bigger. So for Pico, making this moment so big in his head, practicing, talking to Joe Rogan and things of that sort, you're building this moment to be much bigger than it really is. I know it's, this has been his goal his entire life. He wants to be a world champion, but you got to focus on the fight. You got to focus on an undefeated Lerone Murphy that's a very stylistically hard matchup for Aaron Pico. You got to focus on the fight more so than everything else surrounding it.
Michael, why is it a hard fight stylistically for him?
I'll tell you why, because Lerone Murphy, he's elusive, he's a sniper. He's not going to stand right in front of Aaron Pico. You're going to see a lot of lateral movement. He uses all of his weapons very well. He's got great kicks. He's got good boxing. So Aaron Pico is going to have to be aware of the threat of rushing the space. He can't get impatient, and at times, Pico does get impatient trying to get in that danger zone where he lands his best shots.
Well, we're going to start off the card here at UFC 319 with a finale of The Ultimate Fighter. And if you weren't paying attention to this season, you missed out, because the coaches were none other than the good guy and the bad guy, Chael Sonnen and DC. And Anthony Smith is downstairs. He's tracked him down. Let's hear from the guys on this important, tough finale to kick off UFC 319.
Thanks, guys. All right, I am here with Coach DC, Coach Chael, and I have to be honest here, Chael.
All right.
DC told me, you both have been coaches. You guys have done this before. He said this was the easiest season to win that he's ever.
All right. Well,
how does that make you feel?
Well, let me just tell you this. So right now the score, I believe, is 7-4. I think you got this thing locked up. There was an argument made. This isn't my argument. I'm sharing this with you because you're going to hear it eventually, that because you had two guys miss on the scale, that their points are deducted, and it's coming down to this match. Yes, because Rodrigo and Daniil did not get on, and the completion of the tournament is tonight. But here's what they said, Daniel. They said that when Daniil and Rodrigo fight, that will be in the UFC, that it may not be an extension of TUF. So TUF, to my understanding, gets completed tonight. So I got one opportunity, and you got one opportunity.
Well, it's completed tonight, and I feel pretty good about it, because Alibi is good, man. He's good, but Bopo is he's a tough opponent. It feels like we have the right two guys fighting for the flyweight championship.
So both you guys have been coaches. You've been through this before. Is there anything that you did different this season that you didn't do, or what was the changes that you made?
Well, just trying to be more mindful of the kids and their bodies. The first time, as an active athlete, coaching is hard, because you think, well, I do it, they should be able to. When in reality, sometimes they're not able to train at the rate that you train. I think this time it was easier for me to step outside of myself and just be a coach, because I'm not running around to go get my own workout, and I'm not rushing them. It was better. It was a better situation for me.
Chael, you love The Ultimate Fighter. You talk about it all the time. You like the tournament format. What are the storylines that stand out this one? Because I feel like you feel like people are being saved by this show.
Yeah, well, and they are. And I'll just tell you this, to remind you on Joseph, he's fought in the UFC before. In fact, he fought 3 times. In fact, he lost a fight to an unknown guy that turned out to be Davidson Figueiredo. But at the time, nobody knew Figueiredo was the world champion, and Joseph ends up getting cut. And I'm just sharing with you, like, this is a really long road back. It's a very rare opportunity to come back. And I will second Daniel's point. We have the right two guys fighting for the championship.
So here you are, you're going to corner. We don't see you in the corner very often as a coach. Are you nervous? You're uncomfortable? Do you really want to be here? Or would you rather watch from the sidelines?
That is such a fair question, and I think I'd rather be on the sidelines. I was flattered and I was honored to be part of it, but I'm trying to stay to the coach's way. I've got my role, but he's got his main coaches here, and I'm trying to contribute more from a supportive factor, if I'm to be honest.
I don't envy him. I don't want to recreate the way I felt every week walking to the octagon with those guys. It was very nerve-wracking, and tonight you know that this is for all the marbles. So as a coach, especially as in a supportive role where you're not the lead anymore, you really got to take on that nervousness, and you don't have as much input. So it's a tough situation. I don't envy Chael.
All right, so last question for me. Put your analyst hat on. Where do you think the big difference in this fight happens at?
The wrestling. It'll be the wrestling. It'll be who can get the takedown. I think obviously Joseph has more experience. I think Alibi's pace and pressure is very difficult to deal with for anyone at 100. It's not just Joseph. It's anybody in the UFC. That pressure that he can fight with is hard to deal with. But if Joseph can take him down early, I think he has a chance.
All right, well, I know you guys got a lot to do. I'm going to get out of here.
All right, so there are the two main coaches, but we got a third coach up here, Michael Chiesa. He was helping out with Team DC. Give us the inside scoop, man. I mean, when we're watching this fight, educate us. What should we be looking for? What is this going to hinge on?
Well, I mean, DC hit the nail on the head. The pressure that Alibi brings into his fights is incredible. And he's one of these guys that he just never stops training. And so that's where, when you pair those two things together, that's how he's able to fight at such a high pace. But Morales is definitely going to have the edge and experience. He's been here before. He's been in big fights. Like Chael said, he fought Figueiredo, and he's a long-time Team Alpha Male guy. I mean, he's been training under Uriah Faber ever since he was a kid, so you know what comes with that. You know what comes is a great submission game, good boxing, good transitions between the wrestling, the grappling, and the striking. He does a good job of putting it all together, so it's going to be the well-rounded game of Morales versus the pace of Alibi. It's going to make for a good fight. I think both guys, no matter who wins, both guys are going to be mainstays here in the UFC.
Well, Michael can talk about this matchup not only as a coach, but as a contestant, because you won the Ultimate Fighter. I believe you were not picked to do so, but you know, you look at the hair, the kid from Washington comes in, chokes him out. Talk to us about that evening, because I know it was a very special one for you.
I still get goosebumps every time I see that. I mean, that's one of the greatest moments of my life, and it was my mom's birthday, you know, and given everything I went through that season, losing my dad, to be able to pull that off on that day, it was surreal. And holding that trophy up was like something I manifested going through the tournament. I felt like, you know, I said to my coach after I held the trophy, I said, I felt like I've held this before. And so I know how important this is to these guys. And it's a life-changing experience. And the way you have to get here, going through the tournament, living with the fighters, having to battle your emotions and your thoughts, being secluded from your friends and your family, it makes that moment so special. And I couldn't be happier for both guys. Obviously, I'm Team DC. Morales is a good kid, and I'm just excited to watch these guys get out there and compete. Coach Wood will be in Alibi's corner as well, so there will be coaching staff from Team DC in Alibi's corner.
Nice. Dude, I was a big fan of the season you were on, and congrats on everything, bro. That was great to see and watch it unfold live the way it was. With this fight, of course, Alibi's going to bring the pressure, like DC was saying. But Morales training for a long time at Alpha Male, he's seen that level of fighting over and over, those transitions. I just think he's going to be a little bit better prepared for that kind of fight, that kind of high-level transition, up and down, up and down. He's seen it with the best guys in the world at Alpha Male. Where Alibi's coming from, he probably isn't getting that kind of, not that he's not a great fighter, he isn't getting that kind of reps on the mats regularly. So I just think that's going to be a big thing. Morales has experience in training that's going to bring out the dub in this fight.
That's a good point. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like Morales has been the nail probably for a long time in his life before he got to this point at this level of a fighter. Where I'm sure Alibi has probably spent the majority of his career as the hammer in the gym. So it's the growing that Morales has gone through at Alpha Male could definitely play a big role in this fight.
That is going to be our first fight of the evening. Pretty wild to think that we're starting the night off with a tough finale here in the United Center at UFC 319. We're going to take another live look at the octagon here, and we're under 30 minutes now, guys. Under 30 minutes to real fights inside that very octagon, and it's all leading up to a spectacular main card here in Chicago, Illinois, of course headlined by Khamzat Chimaev challenging for the UFC middleweight championship. Another big middleweight fight on the main card of UFC 319. Not one that I think many people thought we were going to see in 2025. Jared Cannonier is ranked number 9 in the middleweight division. Michael Venom Page is a welterweight who has said he's going to go back to welterweight, but he's having a hard time finding fights there, so he's going to take this fight. And he looks bigger than Cannonier, and he's the favorite in this fight. So this is all a little bit wacky, but I think it's going to be very fun once it starts, yeah?
You know, and I was talking about guys coming over from different promotions and struggling. MVP was not one of those guys. He came in, jumped in the deep end, fought Kevin Holland, fought a great fight, got himself in the welterweight rankings, and then now he's up here middleweight, fighting Jared Cannonier. And what MVP brings not only to his fights, but he's got an aura about him. There's antics. He's got a character, like a character role that he plays. But the way that he fights, he's so hard to deal with. He fights on that straight line, very linear, bladed stance. So a lot of guys think that, oh, that's an easy problem to solve. You just got to attack his legs, put the pressure on him. But he's just so hard to hit, very hard to time, but nonetheless very fun to watch.
Looks like a nightmare to fight. I mean, very fun to watch. Looks like a nightmare to fight. Dustin, if you were fighting Michael Venom Page with all of this, what would your strategy be?
That's exactly what I was thinking. From the outside, you can game plan and stuff, but when you're standing in front of a guy like that and he's moving laterally and switching stance and throwing spin kicks, it's hard to see those things peripheral. You know, you lose sight of some of those things he's throwing. If I was Cannonier, I would try to get him against the cage, try to make it a dirty fight, stay in front of him, walk him down. Cat and mouse, I would be chasing him, not giving him that octagon space for him to set up those highlight things that he likes to do. You know, he's got to walk him down and get in his face.
Yeah, and for Michael Venom Page, he does such a good job covering distance. It's not saying he fights on the outside is kind of an understatement. He really covers a lot of distance when he leaps in with his strikes, you know, and it's easier said than done when you say you got to time those entries. But you make a good point, Dusty. He's definitely got to find a way to funnel him against the fence, make it dirty, hang on his head. And something that's kind of overlooked with Jared Cannonier's game is he's got really good low kicks. So if he can find a way to funnel Michael Venom Page against the fence, get to the legs, get to the dirty boxing, I think he could have some success.
And like Brett was saying, MVP is a big guy. I thought Cannonier was going to be huge in front of him when they went to the weigh-ins, but this is a guy who's fought at heavyweight.
Yeah.
And MVP looks bigger than him. It's crazy. This guy's a welterweight coming up and looks massive in there. So I'm excited to see him fight another striker and really get to do his thing in there.
Another thing I want to say before we move on to the next fight is Michael Venom Page, very smart fighter too, man. I feel like when I watch him, he makes good reads, he makes good decisions. He's just always kind of a step ahead. We see him and like he's moving around so much and you wonder like, is that guy even, is there a method to the madness? There is. I think he makes very good decisions.
He's setting traps. The wheels are turning always. You can see it. As a fighter, I can see it. The way he's moving, he's watching you, how you react to his movements. He's setting up the spin kicks. He's setting up the flying knees. He's setting up something big always. There's traps everywhere when you fight a guy like that.
Yeah, and you think that with his style, it looks almost defensively irresponsible, but no, he's a very smart, cerebral fighter. He knows exactly what he's doing, and you have to have a good gauge of your distance, your range management, and your confidence. I mean, the guy is brimming with confidence. Just a very hard guy to fight, very hard puzzle to solve.
Another guy brimming with confidence and likes to set traps, very dynamic, Sakura, the flyweight who came in unsuccessful in his flyweight title fight debut. He's now taking on a veteran in Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott has been counted out before. Plus 260 here. I think this is being looked at as kind of a get-right situation potentially for Sakura. How do you see it playing out?
Man, let me tell you something about Sakura. This guy has the best knees in all of mixed martial arts. The timing of his knees, the angle he throws them at, the way he's able to attack the body, that's going to be something that Tim Elliott's going to have to watch out for because you know what you're getting with Tim Elliott. He wants to just get you on your heels, get to the grappling, get to his takedown entries. Those knees can be daunting. When you're going against a guy in Sakura and your game plan is to close the space, you have to be so aware of him. So for Tim Elliott, that's what he's got to watch out for. He's got to watch out for those knees to the body. And, you know, Sakura, we could be having a totally different conversation had he beat Pantoja in his UFC debut. I mean, they were really trying to strap the rocket ship to him and put him in a title fight. But this is a good get-right fight, as you said, Brett. And striker versus grappler always makes for a compelling fight.
Sakura is very dangerous with the knees, like you said. But let me tell you something about Tim Elliott. This is a veteran who is crafty, and if you give him an inch, he's taking a mile. He can submit you from his back. He can submit you from on top. He's a great scrambler, a great wrestler. He's a dog. He's fun to watch. He's the kind of guy I love watching because you never know what they're going to do. He can kickbox with you. He can wrestle with you. He can roll jiu-jitsu, and he finds ways to sink in chokes and get in positions that aren't the textbook. You know, he does things that work for him. He's awkward.
Dude, he almost beat Demetrius Johnson. I'll never forget that, the tough finale, dude. He had Demetrius Johnson strapped into a Darce choke. And for you guys that don't know Demetrius Johnson, to me, that's the greatest fighter of all time. So Tim Elliott almost dethroned one of the kings of mixed martial arts.
Changed the course of history.
Oh,
he was very close.
They sleep on him. He can do it to anyone. He can put anybody in a bad position if they get overconfident on top or they think they're winning the fight. He's always in the fight.
Yep. We got one more fight to talk about on this main card that we haven't gotten to yet. It is Jeff Neal taking on Carlos Prates. And I'm sorry, you guys, this is cliche of me, but I got to ask one more time, and then I won't ask again when it comes to Carlos Prates. What do you guys think of this guy smoking cigarettes? Because I swear...
I think it's kind of cool.
It's real. It's not for the look. You know, Anthony Smith sat down with him earlier this week, and you thought, oh, maybe he's just doing it for the Instagram. Gets done with Anthony Smith and walks out and smokes a cigarette. What do you think of this, Michael?
It's part of his aura. I feel like I'm using that word a lot, but it's just part of his character, his aura, and he just reminds me of just the Brazilian, you know, smoking gunslinger, you know what I mean? And he is a gunslinger when he fights. He loves to get out there, and go for the knockout. And I'm in, man. I'm all in. Whatever works for him, dude, keep doing it.
Smoking cigarettes, drinking whiskey. I'm sure he's got a Marlboro jacket in the closet at home. But he's fighting a very dangerous striker in Neal. Huge power, huge explosion, and he's been in there with some really good guys in his career. And I know Carlos wants to get back in the win column. So this is a tough position for him to be in. But he's the guy. He's at a great gym. He's creating an aura about him. Fans want to see him. And he knows what he needs to go out there and do. He needs to keep the distance, not play into the up-close, dirty boxing game Jeff Neal's really sharp at, and make it a smart fight.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the X's and O's on this. This was the fight that John Anik highlighted with Anthony Smith downstairs in terms of something he's really looking forward to. Maybe some people overlooking Jeff Neal. And actually, we're going to go to Anthony Smith right now, though. Before we get to that X's and O's conversation, I want to talk to Anthony about being down there and talking to Carlos Prates earlier this week. You got a very good look at the guy. You went and sat down at a tattoo parlor from him, or with him. What was your biggest takeaway from about his mindset going into this fight against Jeff Neal?
Man, you know, when you're as good as Carlos Prates is, it'd be really easy to make a bunch of excuses on why you weren't able to get a win over Ian Gary. He didn't do any of that. He comes from a team that are called the Fighting Nerds, that are notorious for fighting with great fight IQs, and he had no problem admitting to me that he fought a very stupid fight. He underestimated Ian Gary a little bit. Thought in 25 minutes he could find any moment to get him out of there, and he wasn't able to do it. So I was impressed with his ability to just be self-reflective and say, listen, I just wasn't good enough that night. I had to go back to training camp, cigarettes and whiskey and all, and we had to fix the problems. I had to get better.
Looking at some of the highlights of your interview there, and it's such a cool way to have a fight week conversation with a guy. And obviously you're sitting there at the tattoo parlor, and one of the questions you always ask these guys is, tell me a good tattoo story. What did Prates give to you when you were talking to him here in Chicago?
Oh man, it was an amazing story. It was funny. He'd gotten caught by his mom getting his first tattoo. I believe he was 17 years old, but you guys can check this out right now.
No, I think my first tattoo was like 17 years old. Yeah, I was like Muay Thai on my chest.
Yeah.
And at the time, like my mom didn't know. Yeah, and think she saw like 3 months after.
You hit it for 3 months.
Yeah, yeah. She was on the garden, you know, give water to the flowers. And then I passed by the garden, and my mom was kidding with me and dropped water on my face, and I was with white shirt. And then she saw the tattoo, you know. She got really mad, really angry.
Was she mad?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. But now it's okay, you know. Like until my 20 years old, I back home with a new tattoo, and my mom like, oh, I don't know why you wanna hurt your body, you know, and things like that. But now everything's okay. Good. Yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. I really do love those Lionheart Lounge sit-downs, man. Thank you very much, Anthony. We appreciate you. We're going to see you again, hopefully in the next 18 minutes, but it's coming up close, man. Until then, enjoy yourself down there, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you guys soon.
All right, so there's Anthony Smith. He was just standing pretty close to that UFC octagon where we are now 18 minutes away from the start of UFC 319 prelims, and the fans have started to make their way into the arena, including one Mike Mazzulla, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, has made his way over to Chicago. I'm sorry, Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla, the Boston Celtics head coach, walking into the United Center to check out UFC 319. He is here for the prelims, and so will you. I imagine if you're watching the preview show, we are only 17 minutes away from the prelims on ESPN+. 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. They will start with, again, that tough finale that we were talking about earlier, and all roads lead to the new guy by Sangur Susukhayev taking on Eric Nolan. He was just on the Contender Series 4 days ago. 4 days previous to that, he wasn't even supposed to be on the Contender Series. He took his Contender Series debut in 4 days' notice, and then he was so impressive that the UFC moved him immediately to the card, UFC 319. Mike, what are you seeing about this guy? Obviously, he's taking the world by storm, and he's doing something that no one has ever done. Fight on the Contender Series and then make his debut 4 days later.
I mean, he's just following the footsteps of Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, Susukhayev had an incredible showing at Dana White's Contender Series with that body kick, and as Dana White said, he saved his Tuesday night, and it almost benefits you because, you know, Contender Series is this platform where we're not only looking for future contenders, we're looking for superstars, and while we want the exciting fights, and that's how you earn the contract, it almost makes it easier for you to stand out when there's a couple stinkers and you get a finish on a card when there's not a lot of finishes. That's when you kind of get what you want. You kind of get to call your shot. And so for him to come out of that fight unscathed, call his shot with Dana, when you're in his good graces to come fight here with your teammate, he's going to grant it.
You do something like that, ask and you shall receive, especially when your buddy, training partner's headlining the card. It just fit perfect for him. Surprising, it's such a quick turnaround, but he just made weight, like you said yesterday, so he's not far away. He didn't take any damage. Boom, he's in the UFC.
Yeah, Susukhayev, I mean, you know, it is reminiscent of Khamzat Chimaev when he came out and he got the win and then he wanted the fight again immediately. Dana White found a way to get him back in there in 10 days. And, you know, I was talking to some guys about this kid, and he is friends with Khamzat Chimaev, and they say that he has a similar mindset, and that's from where they were born. They were born in Chechnya, which is a very, is during the conflict time in that country's history, and it just creates a different type of human being where you're like, 4 days, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, I was born into a region in which, you can't wait around 4 days. I mean, if a fight comes to you, then you take it. And this guy has been enjoying himself. I don't know where he's got all his money, but he was wearing a very expensive watch at the press conference. His buddies told me that they went out shopping. They spent $10,000 at Dior earlier this week. So Cesar Kaio's having a real good week in terms of just what he's capable of inside the cage. You and I were talking about it. Talk a little bit more just about that kick, because we see front kicks all the time. We don't always see a guy go crumple from them. What was so special about it?
Man, the way he threw it, because it was a lead leg, stabbing teep kick to the body, but he didn't just throw it on a straight line. He kind of threw it and curled his toes in and just found a way. The worst kicks ever, they're not the big shins to the ribs. It's when you stab the toes into the body, get through the solar plexus, get through the ribs.
Touch those organs. The ones that sound big and make the big slapping sound, those are usually just like on the surface. You feel it, it's not big, but when you dig in and it doesn't make a noise and it's hitting organs, guys go down.
Yeah. We have they have video of the face-off between these guys on Friday. So all of a sudden, you're not even supposed to be in the UFC. Now you're in the UFC and having a face-off like this. Dustin, put yourself in the shoes of the guy on the right, Eric Nolan. He's like, hey, this has been my dream for a while to be here in the UFC. And yeah, everybody's talking about you, but you come and grab my head on my first UFC stare down. I mean, I think this guy's going to be walking in with a chip on his shoulder.
For sure, you have to. Guy just grabbed your head and pull you forehead to forehead. You got to come out here and try to hurt the guy in front of the world. And I doubt he expected that to happen. He thought we were going to face off, and it was going to be all good, a normal face-off. The guy grabs you. Now you have to come out here and beat him up.
Yeah, Nolan's legit. I mean, this guy's on a 4-fight win streak, CFFC, world champion. CFFC, to me, is the premier feeder league to the UFC. We see their champions come over and dominate here in the UFC. Aljamain Sterling, Paul Felder, Sean Brady, the list goes on and on. Eric Nolan could be one of those guys, and he's got a tough test in Cesar Kaiev. But if I'm Eric Nolan, that's the guy I want to fight. I want to fight the guy with all the hype in my UFC debut, because there's no way you can, not only are you going to win, not only are you going to be a very highly touted prospect, but you're going to steal his shine. So this is a great opportunity for Eric Nolan and Cesar Kaiev as well.
Absolutely, man. I mean, all due respect to anybody who's coming into the UFC, but we're not usually talking about a UFC debut on this type of preview show. So that goes for Eric Nolan. We're only 13 minutes away now from the start of UFC 319, which means fans are in the building and fighters are getting ready. So we're going to throw it downstairs once again to Anthony Smith, who's actually sitting by watching the process of Cutman Tate wrap a legend of the sport's hands, getting ready for UFC 319.
All right, guys, I'm here before the fights, Edson Barboza's locker room with Cutman Tate, and just trying to show maybe a different side of this that not everyone gets to see. Tate, the hand wrapping process is an important part of getting ready for the fight. It kind of changes the fighter's mindset. How do you approach that with such an important job?
It depends on the locker room. So with these guys, Pahumpa, Edson, I've wrapped their hands several times at ATT. We work very well together. So when I come in here, it's a light environment. It's not going to be one of these environments where we're going to be focused on the fight. We're going to take a 5-10 minutes and decompress, because we know what we have to do later. And I say we like I'm part of it, but we just want to give him a moment to decompress and think about anything except for what he has to do at work. So that's what that's this kind of locker room environment.
So a lot of these guys you've been with for a really long time. Like you've watched all of Edson's career. How do you go into this without any emotions and just focusing on making sure that he's cut, that the blood is stopped, and that his hands are wrapped exactly how he wants it?
Well, you're right. I have been there. So Edson is a fighter to some, but he's a family member to me. So I take pride in this part of it. This is actually more important to me than the actual cut man part of it, because I get one-on-one time with the coaches and the camp. So this is like a family member. I get to catch up with him, see what he's been up to, see what his family's doing, and just it's like a 5-minute, 10-minute family reunion with this guy, someone that I love and respect. And so again, we're just here to take him for 10 minutes out of what he has to do later and give him a moment to decompress and kind of breathe and relax. In the words of Pahumpa, respect, breathe, calm, all that kind of stuff. So we're just back here having a good time vibing.
I remember one time you wrapped my hands years ago, and you kept asking me, how does it feel? How do you like it? Is it okay? Is it too tight? And I just kept saying, no, it's fine. And you were so uncomfortable with whatever had happened in the wrap. I remember you cut it off, made everybody late. Everyone was angry at Tate. But you wanted to rewrap it because you wanted to get it right. Do you carry a lot of those nervous feelings of just trying to be perfect every single time?
You're definitely here to do a job. So, like, it means a lot for me for a fighter to have confidence in my abilities, because the last thing you want is for a guy to be out in the ring and not feeling comfortable. If he's not comfortable, he's not going to perform and do what he needs to do. So, again, I'm going to stay here. This is just as important as anything else, and I'm going to stay here and make sure I get it right. And if it doesn't feel right by me, that's definitely not going to feel right with the fighter. And sometimes, like, these guys are here to fight, and it's maybe their first or second fight, and they're so focused on the fight that they don't think this is important, and then you finish it and they're just doing something with their hand and they're not comfortable. Well, you don't ever want a guy out there to not be comfortable. So again, wrapping hands is just as important as anything else, and he has to be comfortable. He has to be able to throw it and feel like it's going to do what he needs to do and be there when he's there.
All right, I'm going to get out of your guys' hair. Edson, I'm going to let you prepare. Good luck tonight. Tate, thanks for giving us some time. Guys, back to you.
It's a good thing that Edson Barboza is such a veteran and also such a great guy to allow us to get that look in there, because that's a very intimate moment, right? And
yeah.
I mean, how did you do it? I'll start with you, Michael, but I want to hear your answer, of course, Dustin. What is that like, man, sitting in the locker room, getting ready to wrap in your hands, fight another guy, and not only fight another guy, but in front of all the lights, all the people? What is that like?
I always say when you get your hands wrapped, it's like you're getting shackled to the fight. There's no way out. Like, once those hands wraps are on, the gloves come on, you put your jock on, you put your shorts on, you start warming up. It's happening.
It's happening.
But that's, to me, when I start getting my hands wrapped, that's when I start to really, like I talked about the nerves and the fear of a fight that looms ahead. I feel like that's what starts to lock me in, get me dialed in, and use those nerves in a very beneficial way. Like, once I get those hands wrapped, man, I know it's go time, and that's part of what kind of flips my switch and gets me into the fight mode, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure Edson, I think they said 31st fight in the UFC. He's going through it as well. In his head and his body, you feel the nerves. But I don't think they ever go away. I have 30-something fights in the UFC as well. They've never went away from me. You just get acquainted with them, and you can kind of, matador them a little bit and kind of control them the way you want to. But you're supposed to feel that. You're about to go out there and fight somebody in front of the world, one of the best fighters. This is your life's work. You got 15 minutes to make an impression. It's like the Super Bowl every time. It's not a season. We don't get a bunch of games and point the finger this way, that way. It's all on you. Everyone's watching, and tonight's the night to perform. So those hands get wrapped. Your coaches are there. Everybody's nervous. You can feel it, but it's part of fighting.
It's so incredible, man. Obviously, all these guys handle it a different way, but over and over again, I hear you guys just say as well, there comes like that doubt of like, what am I doing, man? Not that you're ever going to back out, but it's just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. Dustin even said earlier that when he comes to a fight arena and watches fights that he's not involved, he's like, I can't believe that human beings do this, and this man did it as good as anybody over the last 10 years. We are coming now very close to UFC 319. I want to remind everybody how to watch it. You can watch the early prelims on ESPN+, the prelims of UFC 319. You can find those the same place, ESPN+, Disney+, but also linear ESPN. And then our main card, of course, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. As always, ESPN+/pay-per-view. Dricus Du Plessis taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And we want to close out the program going back to that main event. Of course, we talked a lot about the champion. The challenger, though, not many times a challenger comes in with so much hype, so much. I mean, the guy's a big-time favorite coming into this one, but I do think if anybody's taking Khamzat Chimaev in that -260, -250 number, whatever it is, the trepidation comes is, does he have the cardio to do it? And he has seemed to address that going down and working with Sam Calavita, one of the most renowned cardio coaches in the sport, Michael. But how much is that on your mind when you look at this matchup, is the cardio factor?
I mean, that's kind of the elephant in the room when it comes to Khamzat Chimaev, because we've seen him slow down in some fights. We've seen him go to a decision twice in the UFC, once with Gilbert Burns and once with Kamaru Usman. The Gilbert Burns fight, I mean, anybody's going to get tired in a fight of the year contender. I mean, that was a back-and-forth crazy fight. The Kamaru Usman fight, that's where, to me, the questions kind of arose, because Kamaru came in on short notice, and while he's a constant professional, he's always in shape, he wasn't in fight camp, and Chimaev was. So for him to slow down in that fight, I think that's when we all start to kind of have this question about the cardio. Now, while he is working with Sam Calavita and addressing that issue, it's going to be a matter of how can he stay within himself, because like I said yesterday, you could have the best camp of your life, be in the best shape of your life, but if you start to kind of fall apart mentally in a fight, you start to struggle a little bit, that all goes out the window. So it's going to boil down to how well can he stay within himself.
Dustin, I asked this question to Chael and Anthony yesterday. I want to ask it to you too, because you said earlier, it's hard to try to get a big guy down like DDP, and he's going to exert a lot of energy. But I've also heard the other side of that, where Khamzat Chimaev is saying, like, think about how tired he's going to be trying to defend these takedowns. So where do you sit in terms of, how that cardio is used offensively as opposed to defensively?
For me, my personal experience of years of fighting, I find it, for me personally, harder to hold someone down if I'm constantly shooting in the gym, trying to ride guys, trying to hold guys down. They keep getting up. I feel like I get more tired. And on the opposite side of that, if someone's diving at my legs, desperately diving at my legs, and I'm getting back up, I feel like they fade quicker than me. I don't know if that's just my conditioning, but I just feel like the guy trying to hold you down is straining the whole time. Of course, you're wearing both of you guys' weight when you're trying to get up, but the other guy's is holding his breath and squeezing, and you're just working up, trying to use technique. So everybody's different, everybody's different. But if he comes out shooting for the legs and doesn't get early takedowns, or DDP's able to get back up, I expect him to slow. I know we talked about him going to a different camp, working on his cardio, but it wasn't that he wasn't in shape these other fights when he slowed down. He was in incredible shape. It's just some guys are wired different. Some guys use more oxygen for the muscles, and especially when you come out like a cannonball from the first bell, you slow down.
Yeah. And I would say, are we going to see an adjustment from Khamzat Chimaev? But I don't think he knows how to do that, man. I think he only knows how to get slingshot out of there in the first round. We're going to have a little bit more conversation about this main event, but before we do, I'm going to throw it down to two of my favorite people in this entire sport, Anthony Smith and the one and only Dean Thomas is down there cage side to give us their final thoughts before UFC 319 starts.
Thanks, Brett. All right, we're down here on the floor. The fights are about to start. I'm with my main man, Dean Thomas. It's an incredible card. I want to talk about like 2 or 3 fights. I want to start with Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. What stands out to you on this fight? What's going to be the make or break moment for each one of those guys?
I think people are underestimating Jeff Neal. I think we forget how powerful and how dangerous he is, because Carlos Prates, even though he lost his last fight, he's on the fighting nerves. I think we're so high on him. And yes, he has an amazing skill set. He's long. But I think we're forgetting how good Jeff Neal is and how dangerous he is. I think if Jeff Neal shows up tonight and does what he's capable of doing, I think he shocks a lot of people.
How important was it for you to hear Carlos Prates talk a lot about having to go back and change the things that he messed up and not making excuses? He was very self-reflective and just said, I wasn't good enough and I got to get better. How important do you think that is for a young contender like he is?
Oh, that's very important. You have to be aware of your shortcomings, and when you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what, maybe I wasn't where I needed to be, and I go back and I work on these things and I have constant improvement, that's important for a young fighter. And if Carlos Prates does that, listen, he may have lost his last fight, but we still know how good he is and how much potential he has. The guy has the goods, so for him to be self-reflective and self-aware of his shortcomings, that's huge for him.
All right, so let's move on to Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Lerone Murphy's the betting underdog. What does Aaron Pico have to do to not have the same thing happen to him that happens to a lot of guys that come over from other organizations? They have a bad freshman debut. What does he got to do to make sure that he can get out of here with the W?
The biggest thing is he's got to be very focused. When I pulled up in the car tonight, it was a line that wrapped around the block about 4 times. It's the longest line I think I've ever seen outside of a fight. This arena is huge. It is absolutely massive. And a lot of guys, when they come here, they don't fight to the best of their ability because of that. He's got to be hyper-focused on the job. He's got to look across and say, okay, I understand the assignment. Lerone Murphy's good. He's undefeated. I understand that. But I got to go out here and fight my best fight. If he has a lapse in focus for 1 second, he's not going to win tonight.
Lerone Murphy's in a really weird spot right now where he's getting close to title contention. He's wanting big names. He's wanting big opportunities in big arenas like he is tonight. Is a win over a guy that's debuting from another organization, is that enough to get him into those conversations where he could be next in line for a title?
Absolutely is. This is the straw that broke the camel's back in a sense for Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy's done everything he needed to do to put himself in this position. All he needs is a signature win. And how can you deny him? The guy has been absolutely perfect. He's done everything the company's asked of him. And he found himself in a spot where he can make or break his career tonight. This is a big spot for him. He's got to get a win tonight. If he gets a win tonight, he deserves a title shot.
All right, main event time. The entire world is assuming Khamzat Chimaev is going to walk away with the title. The betting lines, say the exact same thing. Anybody you talk to just assumes Khamzat Chimaev is leaving here tonight the champion. Is it that simple for you?
It's not that simple. This is a fight. I've been going back and forth all week. I don't think I've flip-flopped as many times on a fight as I have with this one. I think this fight will be determined on the walkout of Khamzat Chimaev. We know he's capable of, we know what he's capable of doing, but it's the walkout. If he walks out and has a little bit of doubt for whatever reason, whatever distraction, puts doubt in his mind. He will not win tonight. But if he comes out and he's hungry and he's on fire, I do believe he will walk out the winner.
All right, Coach Gene, I know you got a lot of work to do. Thanks for letting me bother you for a little bit. Guys, back to you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. We got 1 minute left, boys. So very quickly, one bold prediction. You can touch any fight you want, UFC 319.
My bold prediction, Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates ends in the first round. I don't know who wins, but I think that's going to be 5 minutes of chaos. There's going to be a knockout.
I like that one.
My bold prediction, which I stole from Chiesa, is the main event. I think DDP is going to find a finish. You said 5th round. I think 4th or 5th are safe. He's going to slow Chimaev down and then finish referee stoppage or something. He's going to be gassed and can't protect himself. That's what I think.
Oh, it's one of the best main cards of the entire year, UFC 319. Khamzat Chimaev finally getting that title fight against Dricus Du Plessis. He's not on the main card, but he's on the featured prelim. He just fought 4 days ago. There he is again by Songar Susurkayev. He will be on ESPN later this evening. But for now, we will hand it over to ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, UFC 319 prelims. Thank you so much for watching the preview show. Enjoy the fights and stick around afterwards for the ESPN UFC 319 post show. See you there.